You ever have one of those days where the house feels full, but you feel strangely empty? Or you catch yourself fantasizing about an evening where you don't have to explain why you put the milk back on the wrong fridge shelf? Yeah, that might be your soul whispering, "Hey buddy, it's time." Today we're going to talk about those little signs, some obvious, some sneaky, that tell you it might be time to live on your own as an older adult. And trust me, it's not about becoming some grumpy hermit with 12 cats, unless, of course, that's your dream. This is about breathing room, independence, and feeling more alive than you have in years. So let's jump in, because the sooner you know these signs, the sooner you can start living life on your terms. Number 1. Your day looks busy, but your spirit feels overbooked. This one catches people off guard because from the outside, your life might look perfectly balanced. You're not exactly running marathons or heading a company anymore, but somehow your days are full from the moment you wake up until you finally collapse into bed. The catch is that most of what fills your schedule isn't for you. It's managing the household's needs, keeping up with other people's routines, accommodating noise levels, meal times, and moods. It's a strange kind of fatigue. You're not physically overworked, but your spirit feels tapped out. It's like being the cruise ship director on a never-ending voyage, making sure everyone else is entertained, fed, and happy, while you secretly just want to sit in a deck chair and read your book in peace. I've heard seniors describe it as being tired without knowing why. Frank, a 72-year-old I once spoke to, said that after a day of doing nothing, he felt more drained than he ever did in his working years. It wasn't the doing that exhausted him. It was the constant mental space he gave up to other people's lives. When he finally moved into his own little one-bedroom, he called it the quietest energy drink I've ever had. It's not that you're against helping or being part of a household. It's that your energy is constantly in output mode, and very little is coming back in to recharge you. Over time, that drains you in ways you might not notice until you get a taste of the alternative. When you live alone, something shifts. Your mental background noise drops to almost zero. You wake up and there's no low-level tension about who's doing what mood they're in, or whether you'll have the space to do your thing. That mental quiet feels like breathing fresh air after years of inhaling secondhand smoke. And here's the kicker. With less stress, you often do more. Seniors I've spoken to tell me they start hobbies, walk more, cook better meals, and even have more energy for social outings, all because their brain isn't running a constant household management program in the background. 2. You're running an accidental bed and breakfast. This one often starts innocently. You love your family, friends, and neighbors. You're glad to be there for them. But slowly, your home transforms into the place where everyone can stay. Maybe it started when your grown kids came for a long visit. Then a cousin passing through town just needed a night or two. Before you know it, you've got a revolving door of overnight guests, some staying for days, others for weeks, each one leaving behind a small pile of laundry, a coffee mug in the sink, and a shift in your daily rhythm. The thing about hosting is that it takes energy, physical, emotional, and even financial. You might brush it off and say, "It's fine, I'm happy to do it." But after weeks or months, it's not just the sheets you're changing, it's your lifestyle. Beatrice, 74, told me she used to joke that she should put a vacancy sign outside her door. "I love my family," she said, "but I don't want to be their free Airbnb." It wasn't just the hosting. It was the mental load of adjusting to each person's habits, noise, and routines. When she finally moved into her own small apartment, she made a new rule: short visits, intentional time, and no unannounced overnight stays. She was shocked to find her relationships actually improved. People visited because they wanted connection, not just a place to crash. Living alone doesn't mean you shut your door to people you care about. It just gives you the control to invite them in on your terms, instead of feeling like the caretaker of a never-ending guest list. You're no longer the full-time innkeeper. You're the owner of your time, your space, and your peace. 3. Your health rituals keep getting vetoed. Health isn't just about the big stuff like medication and doctor's visits. It's also about the small daily habits that keep you feeling good. But in a shared space, those habits can get bulldozed by other people's preferences. You may have worked hard to create a solid sleep routine, but someone else wants to watch TV late into the night. You might prefer eating light dinners, but another person in the house insists on a big pasta meal at 10 p.m. Or maybe you like keeping your bedroom cool for better rest, but they think you're trying to turn the place into an icebox and crank the heat until you're sweating in bed. Even small disruptions add up. A late meal here, a noisy night there, a skipped walk because someone else needs a ride. Each one chips away at your consistency. And as you know, consistency is where the real results come from. Omar, 69, once told me that his blood sugar levels dropped noticeably within 2 months of living alone. He didn't make any major lifestyle changes after moving out. He didn't start a new workout plan or radically change his diet. He simply gained full control over his daily rhythm. He ate when his body needed fuel, not when the kitchen was free. He kept his bedroom cool and quiet without negotiating. He didn't have to explain why he skipped dessert. He just skipped it. Within weeks, he noticed better sleep, more stable energy, and even a clearer head. Living alone gives you the freedom to lock in your health habits without friction. And when you protect your health routines, you're not just protecting your present comfort, you're protecting your future independence. 4. You're the household manager, and it's not your dream job. When you share a home, even as an older adult, there's an invisible badge you sometimes get handed without anyone asking you: household manager. It's not a role you applied for, and it doesn't come with a paycheck. But somehow, you're the one keeping the wheels turning. You're keeping track of the grocery list, knowing which light bulbs need replacing, figuring out who's paying the next bill, and remembering that the water heater guy is coming on Tuesday. Here's the thing. If you love that role, then it can be fulfilling. But if it's not your passion, it can quietly turn into an unpaid full-time job that eats away at your freedom. A woman named Margaret, 74, told me she once went 2 whole weeks without having a day where she wasn't on call for some household task. I felt like a cruise ship captain, she laughed, except the passengers didn't tip, and I never got shore leave. Living alone changes that equation completely. Suddenly, you only manage your ship. You decide what needs doing, when it gets done, and what can wait. And here's the magic. If you want to leave the dishes until morning, there's no passive-aggressive comment from anyone. If you feel like having toast for dinner and skipping the whole proper meal charade, nobody's looking at you sideways. Being the sole decision-maker in your own home doesn't just free up time, it frees up mental space you didn't realize was clogged. 5. Money talks turn into money tension. Money is one of those sneaky stress makers that can creep into a shared home without you realizing it's stealing your peace. At first, it might just be little discussions: who's paying for what, how the grocery bill is split, whether the electricity usage is reasonable. But over time, those talks can start to feel less like friendly chats and more like budget negotiations in a boardroom. It's not always about big-ticket items either. Sometimes it's the small, everyday things. You might want the premium coffee beans because they make your mornings feel like a treat, but your housemate insists the budget brand is just as good. Or maybe you like keeping the heat a little higher in winter because your knees ache in the cold, but someone else keeps sneaking over to turn it down to save money. Even well-meaning people can make you feel like you need to justify your own comforts. And here's the kicker. When you're older, money disagreements carry a heavier emotional weight. It's not just about numbers on paper, it's about how you want to live the rest of your life. Many seniors I've talked to said they started avoiding buying things they actually enjoyed just to sidestep the conversation. One man told me, "I realized I wasn't living the way I wanted. I was living the way we could agree on, and they weren't the same thing." Living alone flips the script entirely. You can spend, save, or splurge without anyone's raised eyebrow. If you want to treat yourself to fresh flowers every week or book a spontaneous weekend trip, you don't have to run it past anyone. There's no committee to approve your purchases. And oddly enough, many people find they actually save money when living alone because they're not getting pulled into other people's priorities, habits, or shared expenses they never really wanted in the first place. When you're in control of your own finances, money talks stop feeling like a battle and start feeling like quiet, private decisions you get to make for your own happiness. That's not selfish. That's freedom. 6. Sleep has become a group project. Here's something people underestimate. Sleep is sacred, especially as you get older. Your body doesn't bounce back from lost rest the way it used to, but when you share a home, your sleep schedule is often tied, willingly or not, to everyone else's habits. Maybe someone likes falling asleep with the TV blaring. Maybe they're a night owl who clatters around the kitchen at midnight. Or maybe they get up before dawn, and the sound of the coffee grinder is your new alarm clock. It's not just noise, it's light from hallways, footsteps above your ceiling, the bathroom door squeaking, or a late-night visitor ringing the bell. Sharing a bed with someone who snores like a freight train or shifts around like they're competing in a mattress, gymnastics competition, also means your rest becomes a marathon in patience. You start doing strange calculations at 2 a.m. If I fall asleep right now, I'll get 4 hours, 37 minutes, and, okay, now 4 hours, 36. Sleep becomes something you have to coordinate, and it can feel like the whole household is part of your bedtime routine whether you want them to be or not. I remember talking to Leo, 76, who said, "I thought I had insomnia. Turns out I just had roommates." When he finally moved into his own place, he realized he could sleep when he wanted, wake when he wanted, and this was his favorite, use the bathroom in the middle of the night without worrying about waking anyone. His sleep improved so much, his doctor actually commented on it. When you live alone, your sleep belongs entirely to you. No more compromising on bedtime, no more earplugs, no more negotiating whose turn it is to keep the TV down. Just you, your bed, and whatever nighttime ritual makes you feel rested. That kind of control over your rest can change how your entire day feels. 7. You keep carving out micro corners to be yourself. When you share a living space, your identity often ends up squeezed into pockets, tiny areas where you can breathe and be you. It might be a chair in the corner where you keep your crossword puzzles, or a spot at the kitchen counter where you always have your tea. Maybe it's that one shelf in the fridge where you keep your yogurt because nobody else touches it. These micro corners become little sanctuaries, but the fact that you need them says something bigger. You're constantly negotiating for space. I've seen people build entire worlds in the size of a coffee table. One woman had a basket next to her recliner that held her knitting, her favorite blanket, and a jar of peppermints. Her way of saying, "This square foot of the living room is mine." It works, but it's survival mode. You're not claiming a whole life. You're claiming scraps of it. When you live alone, your whole home becomes that sanctuary. You don't need to protect your time or space anymore. It's all naturally yours. The books stay where you left them. The half-finished puzzle can sit on the dining table without anyone sighing about clutter. You're not constantly packing and unpacking your personality every time someone else needs the room. And the funny thing is, when you stop having to defend your corners, you stop needing them. The whole house starts to feel like an extension of you, not just a stage where you occasionally get to perform. 8. You're excited by logistics, not just freedom. Most folks think the best part of living alone is the obvious stuff. Sleeping in, eating whatever you want, walking around in your pajamas all day if you feel like it. And yes, that's nice. But there's another perk no one really talks about. You get weirdly excited about how your life runs. It's not just about having space. It's about setting up little systems that work perfectly for you, and you alone. Want to keep the coffee mugs right next to the kettle instead of in the cupboard across the kitchen? Done. Want the couch angled toward the window instead of the TV because you like watching sunsets? Nobody's going to complain. You're the boss of your own micro-empire. When you live with other people, these tiny things get negotiated. Or worse, ignored. You finally arrange the fridge so the milk is always in the top left corner, but someone moves it to the middle. You line up your bathroom counter just how you like it, but suddenly there's a stray hairbrush and toothpaste cap sitting there. Those little interruptions in your flow seem small, but when they disappear, you notice how light life feels. And here's the magic part. You stop seeing these adjustments as chores and start seeing them as little acts of self-care. Setting the house up your way isn't about being controlling. It's about creating a space that reflects who you are. You know that if you leave your book on the coffee table tonight, it'll be right there tomorrow, open to your page. Your kitchen will work the way you work. Your bedroom will feel exactly how you want to feel when you walk in. It's like running a well-oiled machine where every gear is designed to your liking. And that quiet satisfaction, the kind you feel when everything is in its place, sometimes ends up feeling even better than the freedom part of living alone. 9. You handle mini-crises calmly, alone. There's a certain point in life where you realize that most emergencies aren't really emergencies. They're just mildly inconvenient curveballs life likes to toss at you when you're in the middle of making tea. And when you've been around the block enough times, you stop panicking. You just handle them. When you live with other people, a small crisis can become a group event. The sink is clogged? Suddenly there's a family summit in the kitchen about who poured what down the drain. The power goes out. Everyone starts calling out theories from different rooms. It's the neighbors. No, it's the breaker. No, it's the toaster. And before you know it, a 10-minute problem has turned into a 20-minute debate, complete with finger-pointing and "I told you so" reminders from last year. But when you live alone, mini-crises shrink to their true size. The sink clogs? You grab the plunger, roll up your sleeves, and handle it. No audience, no fuss. The light bulb dies in the hallway. You change it in silence, maybe even humming while you work. The kettle stops working. You shrug, pull out a saucepan, and boil water the old-fashioned way. There's an unspoken confidence that comes with this. You stop waiting for someone else to swoop in and fix things because you are that someone. And when you solve a problem, the victory is yours alone, quiet, satisfying, and maybe even a little fun. I've heard older adults talk about how this shift surprised them. One man in his 70s told me, "I used to think I needed a partner for the heavy stuff, but now I fix my own leaky taps and I'm proud of it." You don't realize how good that feels until you've done it yourself. Of course, there are still moments when things go sideways in a bigger way. Maybe the washing machine floods or the Wi-Fi drops out right before an online appointment. But even then, there's a different kind of calm that comes from knowing you've handled plenty before. You don't spiral into drama, you just move into solution mode. Call the plumber, reset the router, mop up the mess. It's not just about fixing things, it's about realizing you're capable, resourceful, and steady under pressure. And that steadiness spills over into other parts of your life. You trust yourself more. You stop doubting whether you can manage on your own. Because once you've handled enough little storms solo, you start to understand that living alone isn't about avoiding problems. It's about knowing you can face them without flinching. 10. You feel guilty for wanting solitude, then relief when you get it. This one catches a lot of older adults off guard. You'd think that after decades of raising kids, hosting family dinners, and showing up for every school play, wedding, and emergency phone call, you'd have earned the right to crave peace without feeling bad about it. But old habits die hard. Many of us were raised to believe that wanting space means you're being selfish, antisocial, or, heaven forbid, lonely. So, when the urge hits to shut the door, turn off the phone, and just be, it can stir up a strange cocktail of guilt and relief. I've heard stories from seniors who go through this almost daily. One woman in her late 60s said she loves her sister's weekend visits, but after the third day of constant chatter, she catches herself fantasizing about the moment the house is quiet again. The second she leaves, she told me, I flop into my chair, exhale like I've been holding my breath for hours and just listen to the silence, and then I feel bad for feeling so happy about it. It's not that you stop loving people when you crave solitude, it's that you finally start honoring yourself too. But guilt can creep in because our culture tends to glorify togetherness as the ultimate sign of a good life. So when you admit to yourself that you'd rather spend the afternoon alone in your kitchen making soup in your pajamas than attend another group brunch, it can feel like you're breaking some unspoken rule. The relief part is what makes the guilt so tricky. Because once you do get that time alone, whether it's an afternoon, a full day, or just a quiet morning, you feel your shoulders drop, your breathing slow, and your mind uncoil. The world stops tugging at you from every direction. There's no small talk to navigate, no competing opinions about what to watch or where to go. Just you, your thoughts, and whatever rhythm you decide to move at. And here's the thing. Over time, that relief stops feeling like a guilty indulgence and starts feeling like essential maintenance, the way drinking water or getting enough sleep is essential. You begin to see that solitude isn't an act of rejection. It's an act of restoration. And when you rejoin the world after giving yourself that gift, you show up with more patience, more warmth, and more genuine interest in the people around you. One retired man put it best when he said, I used to think wanting to be alone meant something was wrong with me. Now I know it's the reason I'm still able to enjoy people when I'm with them. That's the real shift, moving from feeling guilty for wanting space to feeling grateful you've learned how to take it. So here's the thing. Wanting your own space isn't selfish, and it's not a midlife crisis that showed up a few decades late. It's you finally realizing that your time, your energy, and your peace are just as valuable as anyone else's. Living alone doesn't mean you stop loving people. It just means you start loving yourself enough to create a home that works for you. And when you do that, you're actually more present, more patient, and way more fun to be around when you do see friends and family. If any of these signs sounded a little too familiar, maybe it's time to listen to that quiet voice that's been asking for change. And if you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share it with someone who might need a little nudge toward their own space. Who knows? You might just help them find the peace they didn't know they were missing.